Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It is officially Preptober. So if you're new here, I am writing a YA fantasy pirates enemies to lovers story about a girl who is on a mission to find her missing father, and she is manipulating a rebellious pirate captain in order to use his ship so that she can find her father. I have 2 points of views, so in this vlog we are going to do some digging into both of those characters and figure out who they really are for this story, and later on I'm gonna go through the mood boards I made for both of them.
Silhouettes of you are like a taunt. Never really know just what you want.
Things currently on the to-do list. I definitely need to name them today. That has not happened. What has happened is I nailed down their misbeliefs, so I feel like that's a good jumping off point to go ahead and start nailing it down, their MBTI and Enneagram. I was thinking about this a little bit the other day and thought maybe my female character is an INTJ and my male character might be an ISTP. So I was researching like the couple dynamics of those MBTI, and 10 Things I Hate About You with Heath Ledger came up as a couple that share those personalities. So I went ahead and watched it, and I definitely think it was a good representation of the chemistry that I'm trying to achieve with these two characters. There's definitely an undertone of anger or maybe a little bit of competition going on between them. There's nothing really soft about their relationship, and that's how I want my characters to feel. I want it to be hard. I want them to have to fight for it. So I'm going to do a little bit more research and see if that truly is where my characters fit on the MBTI personality. Some people might not find MBTI helpful, but I am kind of just obsessed with it, and it helps me to get like an outline of my character. And then I'll fill in what makes them special and different, right? Another thing I like to do is pick pre-established characters that I think fit the vibe or resonate with the character I'm trying to create. And I haven't quite figured out my guy character, but I do think that maybe Patrick is a good one for him. For my girl character, I'm thinking Irene Adler, which still fits with Kat's whole vibe. So I think I'm on the right trail with her. So I might be heading more into the Enneagram. I like to do MBTI first to kind of get, you know, like if they're introverted, if they're extroverted, how they make decisions, if they take other people's feelings into account, how in tune with their inner feelings are they, things like that. And then I like to move on to the Enneagram because I feel like the Enneagram is slightly deeper in the sense that you have to be able to start identifying your character's flaws, and it should go hand in hand with whatever their misbelief is. So essentially, I think that a character's misbelief and their Enneagram kind of wrap up in a nice pretty bow what your character arc is going to truly look like. And then maybe if I don't lose myself in a huge rabbit trail hole, whatever, of researching, which I am prone to do, I would like to start jotting down some character scenes, specifically a childhood point of view scene where they learn this misbelief that they have for the first time, or not necessarily the first time, but the first time that they believe that it's true. Same day, different sweater. I got really excited about something I was writing, so I wanted to update you guys. But also, this sweater is so cute. It's my Protect Our Nocturnal Pollinator sweater, and I don't know, I'm just in love with it. And it's fun because it's officially fall. I solidified both of their MBTIs. The guy is still a little confusing to me. I think he's a 7, but I don't know, he could be like a 9 or a 3. I definitely need to do some more work on him because I can't land on a name for him either. But I named my girl Xantha, and I really like it because it's kind of a harsh sounding name, but it means golden, which can be bright and celebratory, but it's still like a hard metal. So I like that there's weird juxtapositions with the name, just because I feel like she comes across as very hard on the outside, but she's soft on the inside. Then I spent some time writing some key scenes. I only wrote one for my guy, which is not surprising because, I don't know, he seems a little more elusive to me still. There's still a ton of work to be done on him. But for my girl, Xantha, I wrote a fun kind of backstory-esque scene, actually from her father's point of view, which was fun to kind of solidify how they end up just her and her father. And then I also wrote a childhood point of view scene for her where she's getting made fun of, and the reason I'm actually excited about it, it's not great writing and it's very info dumpy, but amongst these few bits of paragraphs is like a line or two that I love and I think might end up being the opening to the book. At least for the first draft, it's definitely an interesting jumping off point and it still has like a hook to it. So while I don't necessarily feel like I made enough progress on my guy character, I do think the girl is kind of coming into focus finally, and I'm very excited about it. Potentially for the guy, I might need to visualize him before everything just comes to me. I mean, every character is different. You get to know every character differently, so I might skip some of this and kind of connect all the dots later and see if anything visually will jog something for him. But that is probably going to be all for today because my husband does not work tonight and we are going to finish up The Lord of the Rings. That's not the name of it. What is it called? The Rings of Power. We're loving it, but also the cinematography is overbearing and some of the writing is cheesy. So warning there. But if you're just itching for a familiar fantasy, it's for you. Very nostalgic. I am loving what they're doing with the hobbits though. And I think they're nailing the dwarf culture and dialogue. Loving that. So right now my laptop is pooping out. I write on this laptop. I do all my editing on this laptop. This laptop is like how I get anything done. I don't know. I'm trying not to be stressed about it, but currently it's stuck in like a updating loop where something isn't allowing it to actually update, but it keeps trying to update itself and I can't get it off of this horrible loading page. I need to clean the screen off. It's not fine. I think what I'm gonna do is just keep pushing forward on my phone, even though that is, I hate doing it that way. I hate writing on my phone. Please get yourself figured out, little laptop. It'll be okay. It will be okay. Okay, so I just wasted like 2 hours trying to get my laptop to work and everything I try is just not working. I'm just trying to remind myself that even though this is annoying, it's just annoying. Like, at least it's not November. I'm just rambling about it now. Basically, I'm going to stop thinking about my computer and I'm going to make myself do some scene work with this guy who I can't even name at this point, because I don't get him yet. It might be a case where I need to write a couple of scenes between him and Xantha. That might actually be in the book, I don't know, but like some practice scenes with them, because I get her and I need to get their chemistry, and maybe that's why I'm having such a hard time, because I'm not just creating him, I'm creating their chemistry, and I just feel like maybe that aspect of it is holding me back, and some of the scenes I need to play around with are between both of them. Luckily during this time, while I've had to wait for my laptop to load so much, even though it's not making any progress, I did come up with a name, Nikai. So I'm stuck between Sturek, that my mom came up with, and Nikai. Sturek is like a surname which means rocky place, which I definitely like for this character. And Nikai, I don't know if it's an actual name. It probably is. It sounds familiar enough to be a real name, but I just put it together because I was playing around with Kai. So I don't know what his name is, but I do think I can stop trying to find name options and just focus on deciding between those two. So that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, just gonna not think about my laptop, the thing in which I do all of the things on. Like, I don't even have a TV. I just watch it on my laptop. It is the next day. My laptop is working. I got a ton of work done on my characters last night. I stayed up way too late. I'm so thankful that my husband figured out the problem. I'm not exactly sure what he did. He utilized the internet in some way to get it figured out. It was like the one thing I hadn't tried doing because I didn't quite understand what it meant. Pretty much I'm like a golden girl when it comes to technology. Meaning I don't get it. Anyways, in the panic of it all, I did step away and start writing a scene between both of my characters. More so I could start to understand my male character, and I didn't even get 2 lines into it before I realized one of the major problems. Pretty much I was understanding his secrecy and privateness as him being introverted, but while he holds a lot of secrets, he is still more of the instigator. He's still very suave. And at some point in those 2 lines, I just kind of realized, like, oh, this guy is actually an extrovert. And it was like, oh, everything suddenly makes sense for him now. I didn't even finish writing the scene. I was just like, okay, I get him now. I get his voice. So then I was looking up some of the characteristics of an ESTP, and it was just like, yes, this is my guy. He is definitely extroverted. He's very in tune with the present and like very physically apt, but still very logical. But at the same time, he has TI in his letters, and so he's very good at thinking fast on his feet, coming up with different ideas, seeing things at multiple angles and different scenarios, which I think helps him be a better strategist. I do think this MBTI is probably typical of a pirate captain in a lot of stories, so I have to figure out how to kind of make him more unique, and I think I figured out how to do that through his Enneagram, which I'll talk about later when I bring up his mood board. Basically what I'm saying is that I think I understand these 2 characters enough to where when I start writing in November, I'm not going to have to figure out the chemistry I'm trying to create between them or what they are internally struggling with and how that is going to make them react towards each other's decisions. So I'm so excited. Part of me is just like, can't I just start writing a month early? But this is why I write the scenes that I write, so that I can start to figure out things before November 1st, because for me, if I didn't do any of this, there'd be no way I would get 50,000 words. I've only done NaNoWriMo twice, and I was so close to winning last year, but I got COVID and couldn't continue with my writing streak. I think it was somewhere around 38,000 or 42,000, somewhere around, something like stupid close, but I was out for the count. And the time before that was 5 years ago, and I really didn't have, well, it was more than 5 years ago. It was probably like 7 years ago. It was like a much younger version of myself, and I didn't have the writing practice that I have now. So no surprise there that I didn't make it because I wasn't disciplined back then. And also back then I thought I was a pantser, and it wasn't until I discovered that I was a plotter that I was able to finish a book. So basically it took me 5 years to finish that book. And then the book that I was working on last year, it's literally query ready at this point. That's the difference between finding out your writing style and success for finishing a book, for me at least. So if you have a hard time finishing your books, whatever you're doing, try the opposite of that thing. If you're a plotter and you can't seem to finish your book, throw your plans away, discover and write that thing, and see if it works. Maybe it will. It worked for me. So that was a long rabbit hole to go down to essentially say I'm starting to see all the puzzle pieces of these characters that I'm going to have to knit together because I understand who they are at this point. I've talked about how I write character recipes, but I can't really share those. And so what I did instead was I made character mood boards and I love them. So I'm going to go ahead and pop them on the screen and walk you through kind of what I'm thinking with them. Okay, so here is Sturek. As you can see, I have identified him as an ESTP and an Enneagram 7 wing 6. As I was researching the ESTP, a character that came up was Hook from Once Upon a Time, and I kind of liked that. I liked that they had kind of a chaotic undertone to them. I also think that Pat here in the upper right hand corner from 10 Things I Hate About You also fits his vibe, and I really like the chemistry between those two main characters, so I went ahead and included it here in the mood board. I struggled with whether or not he was a true 7 or a true 6, so that took a little massaging and some thinking about. I think ultimately it is the 7 that gets him in the most trouble, his need for adventure and his unwillingness to focus on negative things or things he doesn't deem necessary or care about, things he thinks gets in the way of him doing what he wants. I think that's going to bring up a lot of clashing as he grows up between him and his father, who is a very strict man who wants him to take the throne. But also his wing 6 and his loyalty toward his father and wanting to make his father proud is ultimately what's going to get him into a lot of inner emotional trouble in this book. Also, you can see his face here in the bottom left hand corner. I thought this was a pretty good representation, but I definitely want my character to have cognac brown eyes, so I just kind of liked the face that this model is giving, and I thought it fit Sturek's vibe that I'm going for. Also in the right hand corner, the birds. I'm pretty sure the top one is a Pokemon, while the bottom one might be character arc for the Thunderbird in Harry Potter. It just gave me the idea of creating my own mythological storm bird, and I thought it would be a great tattoo idea. I liked that I chose bright colors with the bright blues and the bright golds because I think it hits towards a playfulness and need for adventure. So yeah, that is Sturek, and I'm gonna go ahead and hop on over to Xantha. Here on the left of her nameplate is the closest I could find to a model that looked visually similar to what I was going for. I think she should have black hair and green eyes, and maybe this character has got a little too much makeup on and maybe looks a little pouty. I do want her to look a little more strict than that. But as you can see, I have identified her as an INTJ and an 8 wing 7. This is because I know she is introverted, very guarded, but I want her to be future thinking and not afraid to share her opinion even if it causes waves, which is another reason I chose 8 wing 7 to be her Enneagram. 8s build up walls around their hearts and don't like to be vulnerable. They like to control situations so that they don't have to be vulnerable, and this just very much fits with the strict, slightly manipulative woman that I am trying to create here. But also she has that wing 7 who wants to avoid negativity and isn't afraid to go on an adventure, which kind of makes sense for her as someone being willing to jump onto a pirate ship. Here on the bottom right hand corner, I have added a section of characters that are already well known that I think have similar vibes to what I'm going for. You've got Morgana on the top from Merlin and Irene Adler on the bottom from Sherlock. Both of these women are also kind of strict and manipulative, and I would say that the actress who plays Morgana might be a stronger lookalike to what I have in my mind, but I was trying to find someone who wasn't a well-known actress. Also, I've added a little romantic quote here on the bottom that I was kind of thinking about as a different kind of visual or vibe check for the relationship I'm trying to create between her and Sturrock. And lastly, I'll mention this structural photo on the right. It's just kind of a hint toward a world that I'm trying to create. The background photo is of a map because while I was writing her childhood point of view scenes, I learned that her father is a map maker, and maybe she dabbles in map making as well. So I liked that for her, and I thought it added a little bit to her adventurous flair. Okay guys, so those are my characters. I hope one day people love them as much as I am loving them. If you are doing NaNoWriMo or you're prepping right now, good luck to you. You got this. We can do it. I'm so excited, and I hope you are too. If you are new here, go ahead and like and subscribe to follow along on my Preptober and NaNoWriMo journey. I'm here every Friday with new writing related videos, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!